Welcome to Mining Review Africa's Future Leaders series, and today we're speaking to Prinell Naicker of Piésold about her journey to becoming a senior structural technologist. Welcome, Prinell.
Good morning, Gerard.
Okay. Now, Prinell, let's start by telling us about your journey from school to your current position at Piésold.
Sure. So, primary school, I was lucky enough to be in a school with both my parents. They're both teachers. And then I went to 3 different high schools. Um, Background to that, there was levels of schools dropped, and then eventually I ended up at a high achieving school. So, produced good results. And then, oddly enough, when I did my studies, I studied electrical engineering in my
Wow.
first year. But then I soon found out that structural engineering is actually my passion, and spent some time with some friends who were studying structural engineering. Loved what they were doing, and I switched over to structural engineering. And then I worked for a company called WSP. Did my in-service training with them from 2012. I was there with them up until 2021. Unfortunately, COVID hit at the time, and then our Durban division closed down, our structural team closed down. Then I was also lucky enough to do some freelancing. So I had a good network of colleagues around me that gave me work. And in that time, I started freelancing for Bosch projects. And then in 2021, January, I got a permanent position with Bosch Projects in the Durban office. October of that year, I then moved to the Cape Town office and then worked with them up until last month. So, and then I moved to Piésold in May of 2025.
Okay, now can you tell me what exactly is a structural technologist and what inspired you to pursue this career?
Sure. So, structural engineering, structural technologist, essentially, when you look at the structural engineering itself, it's everything that you're seeing in terms of the building, so everything above ground. And a structural technologist is someone that comes out of a school of technology. So I was, I could have gotten into the likes of UKZN. So when you
Mm,
go into UKZN, you're coming out as an engineer versus when you're
yeah.
going into a school of technology, you're coming out as a technologist. Um, at the time, everyone said it was more practical, hence I went for School of Technology. And essentially, we do the designs of the buildings that you see around you, be
Mm.
it commercial buildings, residential, bridges, that type of thing. So any elements that you see, walls, columns, beams, all of that, floors, all of that requires structural engineering.
Okay.
Um,
Wow, that's really interesting. Now, when you were studying and also when you started your career, did you have any mentors who helped you? And why is this so important?
I did. So firstly, I cannot go without saying, I'll get into the professional part of it, but my parents, first and foremost, I am who I am today because of them. And it's the work ethic and the dedication and the hard work. They have molded me into the person I am today. So first and foremost, I think my parents set the standard for that career growth. But there are three individuals from a professional environment that I have to mention. So WSP, I was with WSP for about 10 years. So the first one was my director when I did my in-service training, Trevor Chetty. He now has his own company. And essentially, Trevor was the director who I really felt believed in me. And he was the type of person that would dot his I, cross the T's. So when it came to just the sort of the quality of work and the output, you were molded in the certain way where you have to have an eye for certain things. So he was quite integral in sort of the way my career sort of unfolded. Then there was Greg Leon. Greg Leon was the kindest person, and I think with Greg Leon, he's now retired. He was also a director when I went back to WSP after my my studies. So Greg Leon, he showed me that you could be a good leader, but lead with compassion and kindness. And he's always stood out for me. You get very different people in the professional environment. And Greg was just incredibly nice. He knew how to deal with stress as well. You'll never see him stressed, even in the most stressful times. And then my director again at WSP, Justin Kaiser, he molded me into the engineer technologist that I am today. When it came to Justin, he always knew that we could achieve more and do more. And he essentially set the standard for how an engineer should be. And I think when it comes to quality of work and creating efficiencies within the organization, having that foresight in terms of what am I doing? Is it helping everyone around me? And am I creating efficiencies within the business? And I think when you mold it in that way, automatically you tend to, conduct your career in that way. So those three, I think, because it was also early on in my career, it molded me into the professional that I am today.
Okay. Now, Pranell, I've had a look at your CV and you've been involved in some really interesting projects. So can you list some of the highlights of your career thus far?
Sure. So I'd say the three that really stand out for me. One of the biggest projects that I've worked on in terms of managing a project was out of my comfort zone completely, where I've done a 3D scanning of a building. So this building was quite big. It was 27 stories, and then on the other side was 8 stories and 7 stories. And what we
Wow.
had to do there to take a 3D laser scanner and scan that entire precinct. And we had to essentially use that point cloud, which is created from the 3D scan, in order to create a digital twin. Now, a digital twin is essentially within the software, you're replicating what you're seeing on the site into a 3D model as such on the computer. And essentially, there, what we had to do is we scanned every nook and cranny of that building. We had to then look at the architectural, the structural, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and we had to put that into a 3D model space. So that came with its own challenges, but I think it's one of the proudest projects that I've been involved in. Then the second one was winning the Extraordinary Woman in the BIM space, which was a competition that was held by Baker Baines in 2024. They do have another round that's going through in 2025. And essentially, that competition took me to America, San Diego.
Wow.
And it was the first time out of the country, haven't been out of the country. So in October last year, I got to go to San Diego. I spent a week there for the Autodesk conference. That conference was inspiring. When you're in the heart of it and you speak to like-minded people that share your passion, it ignites something within you. And that was an amazing experience for me. So haven't been out the country, but I decided that I don't know when I'm going to America again. So I decided to solo traveled from San Diego, drove actually from San Diego to LA. I stopped in at Legoland, California, and then I drove to LA. From LA, I then flew to Vegas. And then in Vegas, I went to the Grand Canyon and I came back home. And then
Wow.
the third highlight would be getting my professional registration. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Pranell, you are also involved in the Consulting Engineers of South Africa Young Professionals Forum. What is this forum, and please explain your role within this organization?
sure. So the CISA, essentially the CISA YPF, is the Consulting Engineers of South Africa, and it is a young professional forum that is voluntary. So anyone under the age of 36 can be involved in this in the forum itself. So you have national committees. Each province has their own committee. So I'm part of the Western Cape CISA YPF. I'm part of the core committee. I'm the secretary there. And essentially, what we do is we um, create events for the year. It's an empowerment of the young professional. It's educational, and it also provides an extremely great networking experience. So, for example, for the year, we'll have educational events. We have a road to registration that the Western Cape Committee is organizing that's going to happen on the 26th of June, where we are going to speak about the do's and the don'ts, formulating your reports and your interviews, how to present yourself within the interview when you're getting your registration. We've also got a financial wellness planning that's going to happen in July. And then we also organize social events where you play volleyball with companies. Companies compete within each other to, there's volleyball, there's bowling. It just depends what we have planned for the year. So essentially what it does is it creates a networking within the young professional space. And it allows us to speak about things within the industry that, it's not just everyone complaining, it's also just bouncing ideas off each other. So it's quite an empowering committee to be a part of. Nationally, we've also got events. So we've got the CISA and Piésold that's coming up in August. And then I will be presenting there as well.
Okay. Now, just listening to you talk about your travels through the US, it shows that you've got quite an adventurous spirit. So, what are some of the things that you do in your spare time to ensure a good work-life balance?
So I am fortunate enough to be in the Western Cape, which is a province that's very centered around being active. And it's also nice because you can do things independently. So I do like my hiking. I've got 2 fur babies who are my life and like to take them to the beach, go for walks. Family is very important to me as well. So spending time with family. And then every now and then, just enjoying the odd binge watching the odd series.
Finally, Pranal, what advice do you have for any young woman that wants to follow in your footsteps? What is the key thing that they need to take into account?
So firstly, I would say with structural engineering, if it's in the engineering field that you want to be in, it is a very rewarding profession. What's nice is you get to see your hard work come to life. So 10 years from now, if you're driving past a building, you can say, I was involved in that. I designed that. But what I would say is that it's also a very challenging space to be in that you're going to have to work hard. You have to put in the hours. You have to be dedicated. There's been times where I didn't sleep throughout the night, where you work till 1, 2 a.m. So bear in mind that it does come with that space. However, for me, I don't look at it as a negative. I'm not saying that's the culture you want to create, but there's going to be times where you have to work hard, but that's an investment toward your career growth. And what's nice is you look back and you see all the challenges you've been through, but then you say, I did that, I've accomplished that. So for the young woman out there, I would say believe in yourself, and just give off your best, do better, be better, ask questions, learn, grow. When you look back in 5 years, you'll realize that all the hard work and the dedication was worth it. And I think as long as you've got a strong head on your shoulders, you're passionate about what you do, you can achieve anything. So just persevere.
Absolutely, and perseverance is key. Prinell Naicker, Senior Structural Technologist at Piésold, thank you for joining us today and good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.